Hey guys, today we're going to solve LeetCode number 1288, remove covered intervals. So since this problem is pretty hard to explain, I want to just walk you through the code and then explain to you why this works. So the problem statement is we have a list of intervals, and basically we need to return the number of intervals that, when compared with all of the other intervals, never satisfy these conditions. So we can consider an interval as being covered by another interval if it lies within that other interval. So if it is between those bounds, then it is covered. And we want to return the number of intervals that are not covered by any other interval. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to sort our intervals ascendingly based on the start. And if the difference between their start is 0, so if there is no difference, then we want them sorted descendingly based on the end. And then we keep two variables, so the current result, which we will then return, and the current right bound. And you can see that at every step, like right now, I'm looping through all of the intervals in the sorted order. And at every step, I'm then updating the right bound. And I'm adding 1 to the result if my current right, if the end of the current interval is greater than the right bound. Okay? So let's understand why this code works. So first of all, I'll show you that when I submit this, it gets accepted. And now we're going to go through why this solution works. So we're sorting the intervals based on the start position, right? So let's say that the intervals are some segments. This could be one possible output of our sorting, right? So you can see that I have sorted them based on the start, but I've sorted them based on the end when the start is the same in a descending way, right? So what this allows us to do is, like, we can very quickly see that when you move forward, you always have a starting position that is greater or equal to all of the previous ones. So now the only thing, like, you already know that this condition is not satisfied. And so now you just need to check if this condition is not satisfied. And if this condition is not satisfied, then you have a new one. You need to increment your result because you have a new one that is not covered by any other. And this is where the inverse sorting on the end comes through. Like, let's say that we had something like this, right? So let's say that we didn't sort them in a reverse order based on the end. Then when we get to here, just by looking at the previous ones, we can't tell if there is one interval that covers this one, because we would have to also look forward, because you can see that this interval covers this one. And so just by looking at the previous ones, then we cannot tell if there is any interval that is covering the current one. But if we sort them in a reverse order based on the end, then just by looking at the previous intervals, we can tell that this interval is indeed covered. Why can we tell that? Because we can see that the largest right value that we had up to now is greater than the current right value. So this one is covered, and so we did not have to increment our result, right? So you see how that reverse sorting comes into play here? Like, if we didn't, we'd have to check all of the remaining forward intervals. But since we sorted them in reverse order, then we can just look at the previous ones. And we never have to check the left condition, this condition here, because since we're updating the right bound while we move forward, then if we ever find that our current right is less or equal to the right bound, then we know that that right bound was set by an interval that had a lower or equal start than ours. And so we know that we are covered by that interval because it has a greater right value. And we know that since it was a previous interval to us in our ordering, it had a lesser equal start to the current one. And so we know that we are covered by that interval. But if our current right is greater than the current right bound, then we know that there was no previous interval that was able to cover us. And we know that there is never going to be a greater, like a forward interval that is covering us because of the reverse sort here, right? So yeah, that's going to be it for me. Hopefully this explanation has helped you. Thank you for watching, and bye.